Please welcome Alana D. Murray, Adjunct Faculty Member and Director, Office of School Support and Improvement, Montgomery County Public Schools.
On January 24th, 1935, my grandfather, Donald Gaines Murray, sued for admission into the University of Maryland Law School. Represented by the legal giants Thurgood Marshall and Charles Hamilton Houston, my grandfather sued for admission, claiming that the law school was not separate but equal because there was no comparable law school that existed in the state of Maryland. The subsequent legal holding, Murray versus Maryland, laid one of the foundational commitments of the Brown versus Board of Education decision, that education is a social good that promotes equality for citizens in the United States. In my career as a teacher, a principal, administrator, and scholar, stories like my grandfather and other Black citizens fighting for first-class citizenship were often lost and minimized in the K-12 classroom. That was my reality as a principal and a teacher. For 14 years, I taught US history and world history, teaching a more expansive multicultural curriculum that decentered the traditional narrative. I term this more expansive curriculum as the alternative Black curriculum in social studies. The alternative Black curriculum in social studies emerged out of the theoretical principles of the university setting and the more practical context of the classroom. The alternative Black curriculum consists of both the pedagogy and content. It consists of 4 components. The first component is that African civilizations form the foundation of world history. The second component is that enslaved people played a fundamental role in building the political, social, and economic institutions in the United States. The third principle is that there is a direct link between Black Americans in the United States and members of the African diaspora. And the fourth element of the alternative Black curriculum is that there is an ongoing dialogue about race and racism and the need for cross-racial alliances. My work on early Black women educators in the 1900s solidifies our understanding of the alternative Black curriculum. These Black women educators understood and created educational experiences that place Black history fundamentally in front of Black children. Women like Nannie Helen Burroughs, Addie Wade Hudson, Leela Amos Pendleton, Elizabeth Ross Haynes, Jessie Redmond Fassett, and Anna Julia Cooper created pageants, plays, and courses in Black history. They often work alongside colleagues such as Carter G. Woodson in the formation of Negro History Week, as well as W.E. Du Bois in the formation of the Brownies Book, which was a literary magazine for Black children. Working in conjunction, these educators spread the alternative Black curriculum. For example, in 1919, at the National Training School for Women and Girls in Washington, D.C., Burroughs and her students did a pageant entitled When Truth Gets a Hearing. When Truth Gets a Hearing was foundationally a pageant about ancient civilizations and history and a more contemporary understanding of Black life in the early 1900s. When Truth Gets a Hearing combined rich musical traditions, a critique of lynching, an analysis of labor, and it looked at the arc of US and world history. This pageant represented one attempt by a Black woman to uplift and educate Black girls. So as an education historian, I always ask myself, well, what resonates for our work today? First, these educators understood the power of stories, untold stories, local histories, stories that reframe democracy and challenge oppression. They understood that history was not just talking about fact, not just something you memorize, but a tool for transformation. Secondly, they understood the power of enriched narratives. Imagine a classroom where you not only learned about the founding fathers in American history, but also about Toussaint L'Ouverture and the founding of Haiti. By creating a more inclusive history, students can understand the persistent struggle for democracy. Nannie Helen Burroughs, teaching in one of the darkest hours of American history, much like today, teaching in one of the darkest hours of American history, understood that fundamentally that social studies is important for nurturing students' identity. So, the challenge is upon us. History is under attack. In states like Florida and Oklahoma, the teaching of race and racism is outright being banned or altered. So as people who are committed to teaching history in its fullest, we must remember the following principles. 1, we must continue to teach the habits of history, interrogating sources, critical thinking, empathy, and a constant re-examination of the past provides our students with the skill sets to practice democracy. Second, one of our most important roles as social studies and history teachers is to nurture the identities of our students, our Black students, our Latinx students, our Asian American students, our LGBTQI+ students. We must create spaces for them to see themselves in the curriculum. We must be steadfast and relentless in this effort. Third, we must understand, and we must fight for this, that we must think that there is not a loss when we teach new stories. We must fight that misconception. We must think that as we add new people to the curriculum, we gain new heroes, like Nannie Helen Burroughs, like my grandmother, Rosa Walker Murray, and my other grandmother, Edna Louise Rice, who taught in the Jim Crow South and taught those children how to read. For every story that we add, we gain new heroes. So if we are to transform teaching and learning in history, we must teach of people, places, and events that are accurate. We must encourage our students to re-engage with the past in order to reimagine the future. Thank you.